Hey, Tony Gaskins here. Listen to me. We are not parenting good enough. We are not parenting good enough. We're not gentle parenting. We're not actively parenting. We're not moderately parenting. We have to learn how to parent. And it's gonna be trial and error. But it's going to take some studying. It's going to take some reading. It's going to take really evaluating yourself, evaluating your heart, seeing where you are, seeing where you're operating from, and being intentional. Being strict with your children, being consistent with your children, being loving, being rewarding, but also reprimanding. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. And we got to understand that. And one of the things that I'm noticing, and I want to tell you, especially single parents, single mothers, single fathers, as a single parent, a lot of times you are missing that other half that kind of balance you out. So you got to be even more intentional, because single mothers, especially on young men, single mothers could be too lenient or too hard. The key is you have to ask yourself, am I operating from love? Am I doing this for the good of my child? Am I explaining why and why not? Am I communicating and expressing to my child why these rules and regulations are in place? When my child steps out of line, am I checking him or her and holding them accountable every time? Does the punishment fit the offense? These are things you got to go through. And the reason why I'm speaking on this is because I'm working with your young adults. I'm working with your 18 to 25 year olds on these college and pro sports teams, and they have not been raised right. A lot of them have not been raised right. They've been either coddled and babied and spoiled, or they've been drove into the ground. We have to find a happy medium. And the way that you do that is to make sure that you're operating from the right place. A lot of times as parents, we operate from our deficiency, from our lack, from our inadequacy. We operate from our trauma, from our pain, and then that's what messes up the children. You gotta be able to operate from a place of healthy love, a place of emotional and mental security, emotional intelligence. One of the things I'm seeing that's plaguing society right now is marijuana. A lot of people do not want to confront this or address this, but what it is doing, it is turning the youth into fiends. They are fiends, they are zombies, they are robots. They are becoming more and more ineffective and useless in the workplace and in society, because they are waiting for their next high. They are coasting and waiting for their next high. So listen, if you know of any drug addicts in your family, get a picture of them from Facebook or somewhere and show that picture to your children and talk to them about this family member's drug story. Take them through that drug story. If you have access to that family member, that your child can meet that family member, take your child to meet that family member and have them meet that family member all different times of day, so that on one of them times they catch that family member on a high. and they get to see that family member high as a kite, and they get to ask you why were they acting so weird, why they was sweating like that, or why they was, you know, just eyes was so closed like that, why they was falling around a little bit, why their speech, why they was talking like that. Then you get to explain. And then I want you to do your research on these different drugs that you see out here being used. Do your research, Google them, read all about it, learn the side effects, learn what it does, what it doesn't do, learn how it's made, and then talk to your child about it. By the age of 10, 11, you need to be having these talks. If you done caught you a STD, or you got a friend or family member that done caught a STD, talk about that with your child. Tell them about the symptoms. Tell them about the side effects. Tell them about the breakouts. Tell them about the medicine, whatever, everything that comes with it. Google the pictures. Show them the pictures. Show them the lesions, the bumps, the sores, what all this different stuff. We had a lady that used to do that at the sports camps that I speak at. She used to show them the pictures and everything. They were like, they be going crazy. But listen, it made them tuck that thing in. You hear me? Made them tuck that thing in. I didn't get that type of training when I was coming up, so I was out there slanging. And then when I started working with these young men, come to find out, a lot of them was in the V Club. Maybe had 1, 2, 3. Used to be in the circle and ask them how many, you know, people have you slept with. They used to sit there and lie, used to stutter and be lying, and the lying number, they'll say 3. I'm like, man, if I'm alive, I'm finna say 30. They'll say 3, and guess what the number was? 0. The number was 0, because when you done been out there as a man, you know a virgin man as you see it, but you know what it was? It was that training. It was them being talked to about that, so they stayed away from it. Now at the same time, they being talked to about scandalous women who want to get pregnant by them, but they're not being talked to about the effects on your mental when you watching pornography. So they give up one thing to then become addicted to something else. That something else turn out to be about worse. So this is something I want you to think about. You want to find this happy medium. What I mean by this is, you're not bringing your child home every day from school and then playing board games for 3 hours. I'm not saying to just be overkill on that. Child in school, come home, do their homework, do their chores, then get some playtime. Have them play independently. If they got siblings, have them play with their siblings. Teach them how to interact there. If you're only child, then they have some playtime with you, some playtime independently. Even if you give them 15 minutes, that's better than nothing. Give them 15 minutes. They say get 1% better every day. Guess what? 1% of 24 hours is about 15 minutes. Things like 14.7 minutes. So even if all you could give is 15 minutes, give that. Play that board game. Kids be starving for that. I play any type of game with my sons. They be asking me the next day, hey daddy, can we do that what we did yesterday? And I have adult problems. I got adult stuff on my shoulder, so my mind be somewhere else. But I got to put that down and lock in with my sons and get them what they need. And so you teach this, and you can't let the crying and the complaining affect you. You got to understand that's human nature. That's gonna come with it. We cry since we come out the womb. So you can't let tears bother you. Oh, I want to keep playing with you. Listen, I want you to sit and I want you to play with your toys. And I'm going to watch you. I'm going to be right here. I'm going to watch you. And you have them do both, so that way they learn. And even with my son, my youngest son, I teach him how to play by the rules. So I'm not going to play with you if you ain't going to follow the rules. You got to follow the rules. Ain't no cheating. Ain't no cheating. You got to take a loss. So if I can win, I beat him. Let him learn how to lose. He take the loss. Now he could take a loss. He don't cry, complain, frown, get mad, get an attitude. He done learn how to be graceful in winning. He done learn how to be graceful in losing. Point blank, period. And then help him understand, hey, you won. Don't do too much boasting and bragging, because when I win and your feelings hurt, think about if I rubbed it in your face. So now, just off that one little couple sentences, he done learn how to be graceful in win, grateful in victory, grateful in defeat. Graceful. And so these are the lessons that we got to be teaching our kids, and then we have to be transparent. One of the things I came up with, and child psychologists might steal this from me, the best parents are transparent. The best parent is transparent. The more you expose and express to your child at their age of understanding, you can't dump everything on them. And I made that mistake. I dumped grown folks' knowledge on my son at 9 years old. It was too early. I should have waited about 12, 13. So it made him, a little too mature. So he went to school and asked the young lady on a note, who would you have sex with? And young lady didn't even know what it was. He didn't even know what that was, and he should have known what that was, but I hadn't already talked to him. But I had to realize, and I made a mistake. I forgot that my son's upbringing is not my upbringing. So while I was out here eating peach cobbler at 9 years old, and out here hunching at 9 years old, I had to remember my son not like that. My son's life is not like my life. My parents used to have to drop me off this house, that house, this house, that house. I was, raising myself with these other kids. Every time we get dropped off every day, so we get into all kind of mischief. I had forgot that my son don't get dropped off like that. My son ain't never spent the night at nobody's house, and we just ain't something we do. So. And then he not around girls at a young age. I was around a lot of girls in the neighborhoods, in the different areas I was at. It was a bunch of girls. My son, when he hanging out with his homeboys. And so I had forgot that his life is way more governed and scheduled and sheltered than my life. So he didn't need that knowledge at 9 years old that I needed at 9 years old. And so we have to learn how to be transparent at the appropriate age. We also got to learn how to communicate. So as adults, when you think about this, you don't want to be yelled at. So why do we yell at kids? We teaching our kids how to be dysfunctional. We teaching our kids how to be toxic. Nobody want to be yelled at. But the reason we yell at our kids is because we step outside of emotional intelligence. And we become emotionally unintelligent, emotionally rattled, stressed, frustrated, and then we yell. But we teaching the wrong messages when we yell. So now we yelling, and then our child grow up to be an adult and fussing and fighting and screaming with their partner, and we like, what's going on? I ain't raised you to be toxic and abusive. And it's like, yes you did. Yes you did. Because you was toxic and abusive. Without, you probably ain't, we ain't punching the child in the mouth, but still, all that yelling and going off So we got to learn how to talk the right way, and yet realize that you could be a disciplinarian without yelling and cursing or screaming or flying off the handle. You still could discipline. And so as we learn these things and we are mindful of these things, now we teaching this child. And even with our behavior, we got to be mindful of that with what we show. So it's like, if you're going to drink alcohol, it does you no good to hide the alcohol from the kids. Let the kids see you drinking alcohol, but let them see you drink responsibly. Let them see you have a glass of wine and still keep your mind. If you hide your habits, the things you do, and you don't exemplify or profile or model the behavior in a healthy way, then the child cannot learn. So they will be introduced to alcohol, and then they will be a drunkard because they didn't see you handle it maturely and responsibly. Same thing with conflict resolution. It's important that your children see, when you mad with customer service, how you handle yourself. When you mad with their teacher, how you handle yourself. And they need to see poise and power. They need to see poise and power, not you being irate and immature. When you show them poise, and yet you still are articulating yourself and you getting the job done, now they have learned from you how to communicate under pressure, under fire. And they're like, wow. And they will remember that when they become adults. So listen to me. This parenting thing is not easy. But because I'm seeing what's happening at these folks growing up, I'm realizing I'm able to see our flaws. And I ain't just preaching at you. I'm talking to me too.